Podcasting. You mean you can turn simple thoughts into episodes?
I can, my lord, but that is not in fact what most seek from podcasts.
What do most seek then?
They seek a source of entertainment that is cheaper than mining ore from the ground. Podcasting does describe a means to make content, but the procedure is so arduous.
A clever reply. No one can dispute that you are a learned man, but I know better than to credit podcasting. Welcome, folks, to Science Fiction Book Club, a podcast for bookworms and stargazers. In every episode, we dive into the pages of our favorite science fiction novels to break down the big ideas, ask the nerdy questions, and maybe learn a little bit about ourselves along the way. My name's Abu, and as always, I am joined by my lovely co-host, Opsa. May or may not be from the future. I don't know which gate you walked through.
Or the past.
Or the past. Unclear.
Visiting from 2005.
Oh my goodness. What a time.
What an era.
Take me back to 2005, frankly. All right, Opsa, before we dive into, we're already cracking jokes about it. Before we dive into today's short story, The Merchant and the Alchemist Gate, which is the first short story in Ted Chiang's amazing Exhalation.
Yes.
We're going to be covering that book one short story at a time, and today we're talking about the first one. There's your spoiler warning, folks. Make sure that you have read the short story before you continue listening today. Obviously, Opsa, you and I will be talking all about it.
That's right. And as always, we encourage you to read along with us, share your thoughts, and email us at sci-fi-bookclubpod@loreparty.com. You can join our Patreon, also at patreon.com/sci-fi-bookclubpod. We post free reading guides, discussion questions, bonus clips, bloopers, all the good stuff on that Patreon. And it's also where you can find our Discord, where we like to keep these nerdy sci-fi discussions going with fellow readers in our community.
That's right. And all of those links will be in the show notes below, so check them out after you're done listening. All right, with the housekeeping out of the way, Opsa, as we stated earlier, we're going to be talking about the first short story in Ted Chiang's collection. As always with these book club episodes, we're going to start with a summary of the assigned reading. Then we'll each share our impressions of the story. And then finally, we're going to wrap up by diving deep into our sci-fi analysis. So before we dive into all of that, folks, let's take a quick break. Don't go anywhere. When we come back, we're getting into The Merchant and the Alchemist's Gate.
Make your next move with American Express Business Platinum. Earn 5 times membership rewards points on flights and prepaid hotels booked on AmexTravel.com. And with a welcome offer of 150,000 points after you spend $20,000 on purchases on the card within your first 3 months of membership, your business can soar to new heights. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-platinum. Amex Business Platinum. Built for business by American Express.
Who says you can't be the topic of conversation for all the right reasons? The Hyundai Tucson Hybrid pairs bold presence with advanced technology and sleek style. It's everything you didn't know you needed in an SUV and then some. Okay, Hyundai. Visit HyundaiUSA.com to learn more.
All right, folks, let's jump in with a brief summary of The Merchant and the Alchemist Gate, the first book in the short story collection. This one is framed as a story or confession told by Fawad ibn Abbas to the Caliph in Baghdad, recounting events that began when he discovered a mysterious shop in the district of metalsmiths. Fawad, a prosperous fabric merchant, discovers Basharat's mysterious shop in Baghdad's metalsmith district while shopping for a gift. Basharat reveals his greatest creation, the Gates of Years, circular doorways made of polished black metal that allow travel exactly 20 years into the past or 20 years into the future. After demonstrating with a gate of seconds, Basharat shares 3 stories of people who use the first gates of years he created in Cairo.
That's right. So this is where we jump into our stories within stories.
That's right.
The first tale that we're told by Basharat is the tale of the fortunate rope maker Hassan. So young Hassan uses the gate to visit his future self,
Right.
who turns out has become a wealthy merchant.
Ah, good for him.
You
Good
love
boy.
to see
You love to see it.
So future Hassan,
Yeah.
obviously who knew about the time travel, provides guidance for
Yeah.
young Hassan.
That's right.
He's like, if you want to be like me, wealthy merchant Hassan, a total G, this is what you're going to want to do.
Yeah.
But the advice is not direct, right? It's
No.
not put in these lotto numbers and you're
Right.
good to go.
Right.
It's cryptic. Avoid these certain streets on certain nights.
Right.
Don't do this. Make sure you eat chili every Friday. Whatever the
Right.
case may be. Now, his older self absolutely refuses to reveal how this fortune was made, but does eventually direct young Hassan to some buried treasure.
That's right.
Hassan then uses this gold to build out a successful business and marry a, quote, beautiful and clever woman, end quote. I feel like that's exactly what we're all looking for on our Hinge
That's right.
profiles.
That's right.
You just got to have the buried treasure.
Yeah.
You know? That's kind of a prerequisite that I personally lack. And so Hassan lives a pretty long and prosperous life from
Yeah.
there. The future unfolds just as older Hassan told him it would.
Yeah.
Now, back in the present, when Fawad suggests that the gate ensures prosperity, oh my goodness, all of us can go to the future and get told by our future rich selves how to get rich.
That's right. We got to make more of these gates.
Absolutely not the case. Basharad's like, whoa, my guy, chill.
Right.
Put the lotto ticket away. Basharad explains that it's like, quote, taking a secret passageway that lets you enter a room more quickly, end quote. But the room remains the same.
That's right.
Time is linear, so your future remains the same.
Yeah.
Prosperity is not guaranteed. You might also become destitute in
That's
the
right.
future.
That's right.
And that's the room you walk into.
Right. And by way of illustration, Basharat continues with a second tale. This one's the tale of the weaver who stole from himself. Ajib.
I loved this one.
This was a good one. So we encounter Ajib, who's also been given a chance to go through the gates of years. And in his case, he finds that his future self isn't quite as prosperous as Hassan's future self was,
Oh boy. Yeah.
but is in fact still poor, living miserably in the same home that he currently does. But he does end up discovering that the older man has a chest of gold.
Huh.
He's living quite miserly, but he's hoarding this chest of gold.
Fascinating. Okay.
Ajib decides that his future self doesn't deserve the wealth and ends up stealing the chest and returning to his own present. I don't know if is that theft? I mean, he's taking from himself. It is, it's theft of a sort,
Of a sort.
Yeah. In any case, he returns home. He ends up living quite lavishly. He marries the woman that he's been pining after for years, Tahira, in quite a glamorous ceremony. Within a week, however, of the ceremony, robbers end up kidnapping Tahira, ransacking his house, and demanding a ransom. Ajib ends up surrendering all of the remaining stolen gold for her return, and they commit to living their lives together, but Tahira ends up extracting a promise from him to return this misbegotten gold.
Yeah.
And the next 20 years of their lives are somewhat miserable. They end up living quite miserably to refill the chest. And in those conditions, their relationship ends up withering under the resentment of their lifestyle.
Yeah. But ultimately, the gold does get returned
But the gold does get returned.
to his past self.
That's right.
Love a little time loop situation there.
It's a fun one.
Okay, we have a third tale within a tale here. This one of the wife and her lover. So Hassan's wife, Rania, discovers her husband's secret meetings with his younger self. And so, like anyone, is tempted herself to go through the portal, right?
That's
I
right.
want to know what this magic here is.
Yeah.
And she, in fact, goes through the portal and becomes enamored with the youthful version of her husband,
Yeah.
the younger Hassan
Yeah.
from 20 years ago. Now, while Hassan travels for business, she uses this gate to put it very simply, to really simplify what's going on here, she uses the gate to orchestrate an elaborate plan to make sure that younger Hassan is saved from thieves. And in this process, she becomes his secret lover as well.
That's right.
She, in fact, teaches him the art of love, which, folks, that is called an investment in the future.
It's really the long con there.
Young Hassan, this is exactly how you eat pussy. Am I wrong or am I wrong?
All right. I mean, I guess we're going there. That's truly what she does, however.
And, hilariously, this is the moment it also dawns on her why Hassan is so good at sex in the future. It's right. Thanks to her.
Yeah.
My God, I feel like a lot of women out there can probably relate to this feeling. Now, this tale wraps up. They eventually part ways, right? She returns back to her own time, and she does ultimately keep this, what do we call it? Affair?
Affair? Yeah, this is an interesting
She keeps this all secret. This has been like a little adventure in her life.
Yeah.
That has actually closed a time loop on her husband's life, a different time loop. And she decides that that's something for her. It's not anyone else's business.
And
she
it's
keeps
not
it to herself.
Cheating, I don't think.
I don't think so.
I don't know. It's definitely it's an interesting take on the time travel paradox, let's say.
Yeah.
Well, moving on, we finally hear now about Fawad's own spin with the Gate of Years. He's heard these tales and he's deciding, all right, I want to use this thing.
Yep.
And rather than going into the future, he wants to travel into the past. However, the gate that Basharat has at that location isn't actually able to go 20 years into the past. It was just newly created.
Yeah.
So he has to instead travel to Cairo, where Basharat has his first gates of years. And we also get to hear about why Fawad wants to travel into the past. He's driven by this crushing guilt over his last bitter argument with his beloved wife, Nadia, before she dies in a mosque collapse.
Mm.
His journey ends up being plagued by delays and sandstorms, and despite his best intentions and all of his hopes, he ends up arriving in the past just one day after her death. He's, of course, devastated, as we would all be.
Of course.
But he does encounter a physician's assistant who's looking for him and has a final message to deliver from his deceased wife. That her last thoughts were of him, and despite her short life, she was happy to have shared it with him.
Mm.
He ends up wandering the city in tears of release and is eventually imprisoned by guards who don't recognize him, but his knowledge of future events are what end up bringing him before the Caliph.
Right.
We, of course, will remember that this is all a recounting of the tale that he lived to the Caliph at the court. And Fawad ends up concluding the story with his hard-won wisdom. Nothing erases the past. There is repentance, there is atonement, and there is forgiveness. That is all, but that is enough.
Oh, the beauty of that.
Yeah. I mean, this was a fascinating story, I will say.
It was. What did you think? What were your thoughts and impressions of this first short story in the collection?
Yeah, I mean, we've said it. This is such a fascinating story, and I really enjoyed it. As the opening for this book of short stories, it was so unexpected, so unique in its setting and in its parable-like short stories that composed it.
Yeah.
Just not exactly what I was expecting when I was opening up this book of sci-fi. And on the one hand, I will point out that I don't think that Ted Chiang's presentation of the time travel paradox is entirely original. We're familiar with these loops and how they can cause heartache and heartbreak and kind of missed hopes. But the storytelling he does to bring it to life here is nothing short of masterful and just so memorable. And the truth is that I think despite all the tales of time travel that we encounter, for many of us at some point in life, we may have held a naive hope that time travel could be a silver bullet of
Right.
sorts. You know, it could solve all of life's ills and humanity's, foibles, and you could go back and kill the baby that comes to be Hitler, and all of these stories that we want to
It's a
pursue.
tempting proposition.
It's definitely tempting. And I think as we get deeper into Fawad's tale, what we see is the other side of this fantasy, that despite what our fantasies would like us to believe, it's not actually through magical escape or teleportation from our present tribulations that peace or life satisfaction is found. It's by going through them one step at a time.
That's right.
And I'll just close here with, when I ran cross country years ago, there was a saying that stuck with me that I think applies equally well here. It's really short. It's just through, not around. And there is something about that is just quite powerful. You know? You can't avoid, life's difficulties. You can only go through them.
Absolutely. Beautifully said, Opsa. And I couldn't agree more. I also loved this story.
Yeah.
Again, it's not the most unique twist on a time loop story. If you are well versed in sci-fi, like many of us are here, you've encountered these tales before.
Totally.
But I think the magic here is how well Ted Chiang is able to humanize them.
Totally.
I felt connected to all of the tales that we heard about, right? Rania, Hassan, everyone.
Yeah.
I could see myself behaving much like all of them, right?
Yeah.
Like trying to get rich off of this.
Yeah.
Stealing off of this. Having sex with my younger, hotter partner off of this. Like whatever the case may be, I was like, I get it.
Yeah.
I would do that.
Right.
So I think there's this particularly skillful humanization of the time loop story.
So relatable.
Yeah. And I think there's this appreciation for what we can get out of a time loop, right? A lot of time loop stories in sci-fi are just warnings.
Yeah.
You won't get anything out of this.
Right.
Don't tamper with time.
Right.
Here, I think Ted Chiang says there's actually things you can get out of it.
Yeah.
And what you can get out of it is perspective. You can't change the past or the future.
Yeah.
It's immutable.
Yeah.
But what you can change is your perspective on it,
Right.
the way you look at it.
Right.
And I think that's profound because that applies to the present as well,
Totally.
to be clear, right?
Yeah.
That's not something you just apply to the past or the future.
Yeah.
Changing your perspective is one of the most powerful tools you have,
Absolutely.
mentally speaking,
Yeah.
to change your world.
Yeah.
And I really felt that message at the core of this story, and it affected me deeply, like that's a lesson that I think all of us should take to heart. I wanted to wrap up. I wanted to share a really poignant passage that just gave me chills. Quote, "Past and future are the same, and we cannot change either, only know them more fully. My journey to the past had changed nothing, but what I learned had changed everything. And I understood that it could not have been otherwise. If our lives are tales that Allah tells, then we are the audience as well as the players. And it is by living these tales that we receive their lessons." End quote.
It's so poetic. I really love that.
Poetic.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's prose that just tap dances with poetry.
Totally.
And I think that is one of Ted Chiang's greatest strengths.
Absolutely. It's really, again, masterful writing.
Masterful writing.
Yeah.
All right, folks. That was the summary of the short story and our impressions of it. Let's take a quick break, Opsa. Dear listener, don't go anywhere. When we come back, we're diving into our sci-fi analysis and unpacking some big ideas and themes in this short story.
Raise the rudders! Raise the sails! Raise the sails!
Captain, an unidentified ship is approaching. Over.
Roger. Wait, is that an Enterprise sales solution?
Reach sales professionals, not professional sailors. With LinkedIn ads, you can target the right people by industry, job title, and more. Start converting your B2B audience today. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started today at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey, it's Paris. You know I love sparkly things, right? Like stars. Duh. And thanks to Hilton and AutoCamp, I just slept under them. Picture me, serving looks by the fire outside my luxurious Airstream, making s'mores with the kids, while a national park is our backdrop. The great outdoors meets Hilton hospitality. That's hot. Explore all the new ways to stay at Hilton.com. Hilton for the stay.
All right, welcome back, folks. Let's jump right into our deep dive for this episode. I think the idea that I want to unpack here is admittedly a bit meta,
Okay.
which I think is okay given the story that we're exploring today. And the question specifically that I want to explore is how much can we learn from science fiction? What applicable lessons does it actually hold for us, and how earnestly should we take the premises that it explores? I think
okay.
even in our impressions, we're pointing out some things that we could take away from this story and apply to our own lives in how we gain perspective. And I just want to explore that question a bit more.
Okay.
And I think, obviously this story brings to mind this question because of how deliberately it layers storytelling within storytelling. We've said it before, Ted Chiang, master at his craft.
Indeed.
And how he is able to begin this story in the Baghdadi caliph's court, then leap through time as Fawad tells the stories that Basharat is telling him. It's interesting. As a structure, it's pretty captivating.
Yeah.
And it's clear that those nested parables hold lessons for Fawad. And as you go up one level, it's clear that Ted Chiang is speaking to us as readers. It's also meta, which just raises the question of what exactly am I supposed to take away from this story?
Yeah. Ooh.
And it's also, on reflecting on the time travel mechanics, very entertaining.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure that there's so much for us to learn from that specifically. I mean, to date, I don't think we've got time travel machines.
Time travel, yeah. Unless you got something to tell me.
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
All right.
You gotta wait 20 years. So I think what ends up being far more interesting is what does it mean to confront your future mortality, to recognize the limits of your knowledge, to grapple with the constraints that the universe imposes on you, as we see all of the characters in these nested parables do. Hassan prospers not because he avoids hardship, but because he learns to navigate it. Ajib's attempts to steal from his future self creates the very poverty that he tried to escape.
That's right.
Ranya's manipulation of time reveals how our desire for control often creates the patterns we're trying to break. And in that way, the gates of years becomes a metaphor not only of our relationship with time, but of our relationship with stories themselves. Stories, including the sci-fi ones we love and cover on this podcast, won't necessarily change our destinations, but they may change how we understand the journey. Fawad returns from his trip through time with his grief intact, but transformed,
Yes.
having learned that nothing erases the past. And I think maybe that's what science fiction can teach us. Not how to escape the fundamental conditions of being human, but how to inhabit them more thoughtfully. The value isn't necessarily in the speculative premise, but in the quality of attention these stories cultivate, the way they make us sit with complexity and resist easy answers. For me, Chiang's story succeeds not only because it offers an entertaining take on a familiar sci-fi premise, but because it transforms the universal wish to undo past mistakes into an occasion for deeper reflection.
Yeah.
Perhaps the question we should consider isn't whether time travel is possible. It's not. I mean, maybe it is. I was to say, But, why we're so drawn to that fantasy in the first place.
Right. What human desire, what human emotion makes us want to travel through time?
Yeah.
What tempted Rania? What tempted Ajib? What tempted Hassan? Ultimately, the grief that drove Fawad.
Yeah.
All of those are very human motivations
Totally.
and human desires that lead them to go through a magical portal and try to travel through time and change time.
Yeah.
I think we've all had that feeling, right?
Oh, certainly.
We all have regrets. We all fantasize about what if scenarios, right?
Yeah.
I do it after every single conversation.
Sure.
I go back and I replay
Yeah.
and I'm like, I could have been wittier.
Yeah. Or, in the other direction, thinking about a conversation you're going to have and
Yes.
kind of future pacing.
Oh my gosh, I do that all the time.
like
too.
rehearsing conversations,
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Like I think it's a very human, very instinctual thing to want to jump forward or backwards in time. And it's interesting to think about that desire.
Yeah, definitely. And I think going back to the meta nature of this takeaway, this like great takeaway, by the way.
Yeah.
I love thinking about this, but the meta nature of, okay, science fiction, but stories at large, the idea of stories, why are they so important to us and why are they so impactful?
Yeah.
It's not because they lay out a step-by-step plan to fix your life or fix your grief or get rich quick. I mean, like certainly some books will try and sell you that, but we're talking like stories, tales. You know, why do humans have the instinct to share fanciful, fictional stories of adventure and daring?
Yeah.
And I do think it is a way we process life. It is a way, like Fawad, we shift our perspective and come out transformed on the other side.
Right.
I've certainly read books, some of my all-time favorite books, where I have felt on the other end of it changed.
Yeah. Certainly.
Exhalation, I will go ahead and say, is
one
of those books.
Yeah, definitely.
I have come out the other side of this Ted Chiang short story collection a changed person with a changed perspective on life and the universe and science and the possibilities of existence.
Right.
And so I think you're touching on something important here. Like Bashart is telling these stories because they're not a framework of what Fawad should do or can do with this power.
Right.
They are lessons.
Yeah.
And Fawad can either choose to hear them and be transformed, or like he does in this story, go on his own journey and come out transformed. And then now he has a story to tell, the Caliph, in the hopes that the Caliph will listen and be transformed. So,
and now we have a story to tell,
about
you know, all of these
the Russian doll continues to nest further and further. But I think that is inherently the power of stories.
Totally.
And I think science fiction is particularly good at this,
I agree.
especially great science fiction like Exhalation.
Yeah.
It'll take a human desire, a human emotion, a human fear, and play the what if game.
Right.
What if there was a portal that let you time travel? What would you do?
Right.
Would you be Fawad?
Right.
Would you be Hassan? Would you be Rania?
Yeah.
And the answer is, like, we've all wondered these things, and science fiction explores them in ways that lets us process them.
Right.
Reading a story like this makes me think, would I travel through the gate?
Yeah.
Would I be tempted?
I know. Yeah.
Would you?
Tempted, certainly. It's hard to, I mean, this is one of those, you know, should it exist, it's tough to not want to step through. But I think what's interesting is, you know, given this, you know, incredible technology, we're still human. We would still choose the things that we would choose on our current paths or some variation of, but we don't suddenly become godlike, or, you know, not everything kind of resolves itself cleanly.
Of course.
There are all sorts of, I think, trials and challenges we'll encounter kind of regardless.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree completely. From this short story, the big takeaway for me is that quote I read earlier, that we are both the observers and the players in the story of our own lives.
Right.
And it's important for us to recognize both aspects of that.
Right.
And appreciate everything that comes with life.
Yeah.
You know, there will be good. There will be bad. Like
your wife cheating on you.
Your wife cheating on you with your younger self. And there will be everything else in between, right? And accepting that, you know. I think there's a temptation to try and curate our lives.
Right.
So that it all makes sense.
Right.
And I think this story kind of exemplifies that it doesn't make sense, and that's okay. I think it's a beautiful message at the end of the day, and we're going to repeat that a lot, I think, throughout our coverage of Exhalation.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of hope. This is a hope-filled book.
Yeah.
And I really appreciated that.
Agreed.
All right, folks. That does it for the first short story in Exhalation by Ted Chiang.
And what a beautiful one.
What a beautiful one. Yeah. We are off to a great start.
Yeah, I'm excited for this.
And it's going to be a fun ride from here. Again, we're going to be covering every single short story, one episode at a time, in this short story collection. So next up, here's your assignment, folks. Make sure that you've read the next short story in this collection, the titular Exhalation.
That's right.
It's a good one. I'm excited to talk about that one. Of course, if you want to know what the due dates are for reading assignments, when episodes will drop, what books you need to stay on top of, check out the link in the show notes below. We have the entire Season 3 reading schedule laid out there so that you can keep up and read along with us as we journey through some incredible science fiction stories.
That's right. Oh, mighty listeners, we are humbled to be in the splendor of your presence. Truly, we can hope for no greater blessing as long as we live. Well, perhaps a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify to keep this thing alive. Also, of course, be sure to check out the other shows on the Lore Party Podcast Network on loreparty.com. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at lore_party. Thank you so much for listening, and remember, that is all, but that is enough.